Hi, I'm Cynthia Riss, and I'm sitting here with my dad, Frank Nitz, for the Veterans History Project. My dad served in World War II, in Korea, and the Cold War, and I'm going to be asking him a little bit about his background. He grew up in Chicago, and what it was like as he entered the war, some of his experiences there, and then his life after. Right now we're in Cincinnati. My dad is a resident at the Anderson Nursing Home. It's June 2012. And so he's made the move from Chicago to Cincinnati, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So this is my dad, Frank William.
Albert Nitz Jr.
All of it. And so, Dad, why don't we start with the beginning? You were born and raised in Chicago, right?
Yes.
And didn't you live on something of kind of a farm when Chicago was rather rural? Wasn't it pretty rural where you lived?
Well, we lived.
Yeah.
We lived at 44th and Wells.
Oh, okay. And that wasn't the middle of the city, right?
No, it was in the middle of the city.
It was Chicago proper, but it was kind of it was more farm and everything, wasn't it then? Was 44 and Wells kind of farmland?
No, our resident was as rural as you can get.
Oh, it was as rural as you can get. And you were telling me just a little while ago about helping your mom in the kitchen. Did she like you to help her there?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What kinds of things would you cook when you were helping your mom?
What did I do?
Do you remember? That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. I don't know.
You can't even remember. And how many brothers did you have?
2.
And now one's older than you, is that right?
The older brother and the younger brother.
Oh, okay. Now, did they help in the kitchen as well, or did they not like to do that?
No, they would. Wow. You, Frank, go ahead.
They let you do that. So one of the things that I find interesting, you left high school to help support your family, didn't you?
You did what?
Didn't you leave high school to help support your family financially? Because you went into the Civilian Conservation Corps. Do you remember that?
Civilian Conservation Corps.
Yeah, remember? Wasn't that up in, you said the North Woods?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all the way up. Guy came to the door. Frank, you want to go with?
Oh, really? It was that quick? That's simple, huh?
So, yeah, they didn't care for it.
Oh, your parents didn't like the idea?
They liked the idea,
Uh-huh.
but they didn't like the idea of my being gone so long.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and you were up in Wisconsin, right? Wasn't it Wisconsin?
Yes, Wisconsin.
Okay.
That was going all the way to the North Woods.
Wow.
And getting into the North Woods.
Mm-hmm.
That was really nice. That was really beautiful weather.
You said that you enjoyed camping, didn't you? Or that helped you feel like you liked to camp and be outside?
Yeah, that's what I liked. I liked it. I liked being in the business with them. I liked it. Whoa. We
Were you clearing brush and everything? Is that part of what you did?
We did was do whatever they needed.
Oh, okay.
If they needed a good couple of trees down, we took it down.
Mm-hmm.
And made room for their own plant to take away.
And I think you were telling me something about that was helping to prevent fires, to get some of that dead brush out of there. Is that what it?
Get everything ready.
Okay.
That's what we did. We cleared away all the debris.
Mm-hmm. And I think I have a record here that says you were there from January to 1941 through that year in Wisconsin. And then just the very next year, January of 42, you enlisted in the Coast Guard. So did that give you an idea that you liked that kind of life, that kind of service life?
Oh, yes,
Okay. So that's what kind of led you to the Coast Guard then?
yes.
All right. And you were telling me a little bit about when you first were in the Coast Guard, you were on the East Coast?
East Coast, yes.
Okay. And what were you doing there? You were, what was your mission on the East Coast in the Coast Guard?
Take things from the Coast Guard, take it up to the river, to where they have. We took them.
Like the troops and supplies?
We didn't have, in Philadelphia, we didn't have the movement
Mm-hmm.
where we took it up to the river to,
Like weren't you saying something about kind of helping the troops and supplies get around the East Coast and
yeah.
helping them get out to other ships
Yeah.
and things like that? Because was there a concern that there might be enemy ships in the area too, along the East
Oh,
Coast?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Submarines.
Oh. So that was something that you all had to keep an eye out for?
Yeah.
Okay. And then from there, you went on board the LST, the 832, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what that was also called? Because you have that on your cap there. Was that the Mad Hooligan?
Yes. Mad hooligan.
So you guys are all Mad Hooligans, right?
Oh, yes.
Everybody who served on there.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that you said you went from protecting ships that were moving supplies and sailors to actually being on a ship that moved supplies and sailors around. Is that pretty much what your job was on
Yes.
the 832? You were showing me yesterday a map of some of the places that you were. Is this some of the, were you in the Philippines and places along the,
This was taken all the way over here was the United States. And over there was there was China, Korea, and other nations.
mm-hmm.
And we were able to move it to the area. That was where we were able to move them away.
Oh, so you'd move them from one place to
Yeah.
the other in the Philippine Islands in particular?
Yes.
Okay. And I think you were saying even Okinawa and Tokyo and all those places, you would take troops back and forth? Is that what your job mainly was?
Our job was get rid of the trash.
Get rid of the trash. Get rid of the things nobody wanted and help get the soldiers where they needed to be, huh?
Yeah, that's how we were able to get from there to get rid of the people.
Okay. One of the things I remember you were talking about, I think maybe in something that you had written about how you were concerned about the enemies because sometimes you would see subs in the area, right?
Hmm?
Sometimes you would see enemy subs in the area and you would have to watch out for that.
Oh yeah. Get rid of the trash.
But you also, didn't you also have to worry about the weather? Weren't there a lot of typhoons in the area?
Typhoons. There was
What would you do when bad weather hit? I mean, you're out there in the middle of the water. What does a ship do in bad
All we
weather?
do
Just hunker down?
is get rid of the trash. Get our get the movement along the water.
Mm-hmm. Kind of just protect yourselves as best you can?
Yes.
Okay. And so you did a lot of that work of moving the troops around and making sure they had the supplies they needed and they could get to their...
Yeah, we got rid of the United States Army. Moved them in.
So you had to get the land troops in to the...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because this was areas where they were still fighting, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you bring new troops in to do the fighting, the army, the land troops.
We brought the army in, and they would take over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this was in the this was still before the war was over, right? I mean, you were still, this was an active duty area, and so the troops were still fighting. And you did hear President Truman, though, on April 15th say that all the hostilities were ended, didn't you, when you were still in that area on board ship? Was that a good day to find out that the hostilities were over? I think you said you heard that when you were, there was an announcement on the ship from President Truman.
Oh, yeah. President Truman. Oh.
Well, that's okay. I'm asking you about if you remember when the war ended as far as you were concerned. Do you remember when the war began? Do you remember hearing about Pearl Harbor? Were you still at home then? I don't know if you remember that day. You know, when the attack on Pearl Harbor happened. Do you remember where you were or what you were doing then?
I was at home.
Oh, were you? Was your family together? Did you all hear that together?
Yeah. I would go to the Coast Guard and enlist.
Oh, so that was your first response to that? Oh, okay. So that started your whole military career then? Oh, all right. So the attack happened and you went ahead and enlisted?
Yes, I enlisted right away.
But your brothers didn't, right? They didn't
No.
enlist? Okay.
I wanted to get in now.
So you were the one that helped your mom in the kitchen and you were the one that enlisted when you...
Yeah.
Huh, interesting. Were you the active brother?
I was active. Really active.
Because you had one older brother and one younger brother, and I'm surprised neither of them enlisted. But you stayed in the Coast Guard even after formal hostilities were over, and then you were assigned to the Northwind, weren't you? The icebreaker Northwind. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Because I think, weren't you telling me a story once? I don't know if you remember this, but if you want to tell it now, this might be a good time. I remember you saying that there was some man who didn't want to go on the icebreaker. Is that right? Some sailor whose place that you were able to take? Do you remember telling me that story? I think you said you were... I'm not sure where it was that you were. You were back in the United States by that time. And somebody came into the office where you were at and they were saying, I've got assigned to this Northwind and I don't want to go.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that? What did you say when he said he didn't want to go on the Northwind?
I'll get on. I lived this right then and there.
So you sort of volunteered to go on that expedition, huh?
Yes.
Did it sound interesting to you? Is that why you did
Oh,
that?
yes.
Because you just came from the Asian area, the parts of Asia, and now you're going down to Antarctica. Did that seem like a nice a contrast or something? You just
I can get on board right now.
That's really interesting that you weren't originally assigned to it, but you decided to get on board, huh? At that
Yeah.
point, okay. So you served as cook on both ships, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I forgot to ask you a little bit about that. When you were on the LST, there were newsletters on the ship, and I know they referred to your. Do you remember what they would call your the food that you would cook for them?
I don't know.
No. Wasn't it Nitz's grits? Was that what they?
Nitz's grits,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, yeah, Nitz. Oh, yeah.
That was I think that started on the LST, wasn't it?
Yes.
Nice rhyming.
Nitz's grits.
And I think I remember one in particular that you said on Christmas you were cooking up a bunch of your food. What kinds of things would you cook for Christmas dinner?
Whenever we had the meal, they had to slop it up quick before I could get to it.
Oh, so they ate your meal before you
Right.
got to it? Oh, so did you have any Christmas dinner?
No.
Because you were up all night long cooking, weren't you?
Yes.
Did you? Oh, that's all right. You baked, right?
Yes.
What kinds of things did you like to bake?
I could bake their cake, and I could make the whole meal.
So you would make the meat and the potatoes and biscuits and all that. That was all up to you?
Oh no, they had to people to do that.
Oh, okay. So you just supervised everybody.
Yes.
Okay. Good. I'm glad you didn't have to feed 200 men or however many there
Yes.
were.
Yeah, whatever we had. Yes.
Wow. So you had cooks working for you, and you would supervise them, and they would you'd all be responsible for the whole meal that the men would be eating every day.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because there was one picture of you. I think we have it in here, where
And Nitz's grits.
where you're where you're handing out food in line. Is that an early picture of you?
Yeah, early picture of me.
Wow. And this was when you were still learning? Is this the main cook there? Or is this someone that was helping you out?
He was the manager.
Oh, okay. So this was early in your career. You had a manager and you would be helping. And then as things went on, you started to become the chief cook, right?
Yes.
When you went down to Antarctica. Okay. So when you went down to Antarctica, you seem to really like that that part of your career, and find that was really very different than anything that you'd ever seen before. Was that because of all the ice, the animals? I mean, what would you say you remember the most of your days in Antarctica?
What was this?
What do you remember most about being down in Antarctica when you were there?
Being able to see everything that we could move.
That must have been so different, such a different landscape than the kind of landscape that you'd come from around the Philippine Sea. Here you've got icebergs and penguins, and you're on board a ship that's responsible for cutting through all that ice. That must have been a very different, different day-to-day job than you had before.
I don't know.
You don't know. Well, tell me a little bit about what happened when you were having to keep the ships out of the ice. You were saying that it wasn't that they would get stuck in the ice so much, but you would have to keep them out of the ice. Is that right? Is that what the Northwind would do?
Northwind would break through the ice.
Okay.
Take their ship away from the ice.
Okay.
Move back, move, boom. Move into the and get the ice moving, where we could bring forth ships.
Okay. So when the Northwind crashed through the ice, I guess I always wondered how that worked. Does it kind of push does the ice start moving? Does it actually kind of push the ice flows away, or does it just make a line in the ice?
Oh, we boom, boom, and move it away, move it away, move it away.
Oh, so you're actually physically moving the ice away. It's not just cutting a
Right.
path. It's kind of pushing it away as well. Because I remember you saying the Merrick was one of the ships that you ended up rescuing at the end. That was much bigger than the Northwind. So you probably had to kind of push a lot of ice away in order for these bigger ships to follow you, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about the logistics before. That you couldn't just cut a path. You had to actually get rid of that ice, because the other ships, as long as the ice was there, the other ships were in danger of damage from the ice, right? So you really had to get rid of that ice altogether. Yeah. Okay. I know one thing that you were saying is that there was the Senate, the submarine that came with you. The submarine couldn't end up staying, could it? Didn't they have to send the Senate back?
What's this now?
Didn't, I know there were a lot of ships with you when you went to Antarctica, but there was also a submarine, wasn't there, initially? The Senate?
Oh, submarine, yeah. We had to just send it back.
Why did you have to send it back?
Because they had broken their hub.
Oh.
And we had to just move them out.
And that was something that happened on the ice?
Yeah, they went all the way to New Zealand.
Okay. Okay, so it could be dangerous for some of the troops that you had with you. And then the Merrick actually got damaged, didn't it?
Merrick.
Wasn't that one of the ships that you ended up having to tow back?
Yeah.
Out of the area? I know you had, when you were, this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but after the war you went to, you worked for R.R. Donnelly's, didn't you?
Yeah.
And when you were at R.R. Donnelly's, you had told them all about your adventures in Antarctica, and they wrote up an article for the R.R. Donnelly magazine. And in that, you were saying that it was really, the Merrick was in a lot of danger, not only because of the ice, but it was in the middle of a storm and the winds were really, really strong. You wrote in your journal, the ever-increasing gale is getting very dangerous. It would catch the Merrick at times and send her crashing against the ice with a sickening thud. You could hear the steel frames groaning inside her. The wind by this time was 55 to 70 miles per hour, and it was a difficult task, which called for expert seamanship from all hands and expert guidance from the officers. Getting the tow lines over to the Merrick and straightening her out before she perished in the gale was a real task. One jagged piece of ice could go through her like a knife through a pie. I really like that comparison you make there. So did everybody feel like that was a real touch and go kind of situation, like you could lose the Merrick at that time?
I don't know.
Hard to remember back that far, huh?
No.
Because I just was struck by how dangerous it seemed just to try to attach the tow lines to a ship that you're trying to save. It seemed like even that was a real hard task, and that you felt at the time that you might not even be able to do that. It just sounds like conditions were really dangerous and difficult down in Antarctica.
All we had to do was get it away from there. And we could just move the ships away, let them go back.
So that was your only choice, just to get them out of there, huh?
Yes.
So where did you take the Merrick? Where did you have to tow the Merrick? Do you remember?
We had to tow them. We had to get them out of their trouble where they were in. Move them away. And tell them, go ahead. You can go home. And we'll just take the rest of them back to which way we want to go.
And you ended up having to go all the way to New Zealand with the Merrick, didn't you?
What?
Didn't you have to tow the Merrick all the way back to New Zealand?
No. Just to let them go with their boy. Just get them out of the ice.
Mm-hmm.
Move them away. And they can go on their way home.
And then you ended up having to go all the way home too, right? You had to leave Antarctica, the weather was getting bad, and you had to head back to the United States. Did you kind of feel sad having to leave Antarctica? Or were you glad to get out of there by then?
We would take Antarctica to their home base.
Uh-huh.
And we could go with them.
Oh, so you were just able to get out of there because you were taking them out.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, because I think you said that you had to escort some of the damaged ships out, and that was your time to leave as well, the Northwind's chance to get out of there. So once you left Antarctica, that was about the end of your Coast Guard years, right? You were finishing up your duty with the Coast Guard about then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you also served a little bit in the Marines in the early 1950s during the Korean conflict, right? Or I should say you were in the Korean conflict and you also served in the Marines. I'm not sure the time frame on those two things.
We go with them.
So you've been a Coast Guard member and a member of the Marines as well, right? Never were in the Army though. You just escorted the Army personnel. You didn't want to go for 3, huh?
Take them with.
Yeah, just take them with and not
and we go with.
not join them as well. Well, when you got out of the military, I know that Rosemary was born while you were still overseas, right? She was born in 1951, yes. And I think you were, well, I don't know if you were overseas then, but you were in the Marines at that time, yes. Weren't you? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I remember, didn't Mom say that she came down with Rose to see you in Camp Lejeune when Rose was just a little baby?
Mm-hmm.
So was that one of your first times to see your new daughter?
Yes.
Wow. That must have been exciting.
Yeah, it was really good.
A new young father getting to see his daughter for the first time. Because I know that you weren't able to get back in time for Rose to be born, so you got to see her later, though.
Yes.
That's great. And then when you got out of the Marines, you settled back in Chicago, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. So Chicago stayed your home for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
And you were with Donnelly's then, is that right?
R.R. Donnelly.
Okay. And what did you do for R.R. Donnelly?
Take care of their rolls.
Oh, the rolls of paper, huh?
Yeah.
They're a big printing company, right?
Yes.
Even before that, now this is the family tale, and I don't know if that's right, but what I always heard was that you worked for Donnelly's before the war, I guess, as a window washer. Is that right? Isn't that how I heard you met Mom? That you saw her from your perch as a window washer?
Oh, yeah.
And she was working at Eastman Kodak, which was near the Donnelly plant, right?
Yeah.
So even from that high perch, you could look down and you could spot a pretty woman, huh?
Oh, yeah.
So that's how you got her attention. Yeah. So you were with Donnelly's in different capacities. You were a forklift operator for a while too, right?
I was a forklifter and was a wheel watcher.
Window washer. Yeah.
Window washer.
So you kind of moved your way up in the company, huh?
Yes.
I don't mean up the side of the building, but but when you were in control of later when you went back and you were inspecting the rolls of paper, you were what, a quality control inspector? Is that what you would?
Quality control.
Okay. But you also had an accident there. Do you want to talk about that, when you lost your foot?
Oh, that is sick.
Yeah. But that was at Donnelly's, right?
Yes, that was at Donnelly's. And then they had wheeled me to the hospital.
Did the roll come loose or something, or what? How did the roll crush your foot?
My own mistake.
Oh, was it?
Yes. I don't want to talk about that.
No. Okay. Okay. But that was later. That was like in 1963, right? Yeah. But you were able to stay with Donnelly's for a while after that too. You worked.
Oh yeah, I was a pencil pusher.
Sometimes pencil pushers are good too. Companies need pencil pushers.
Oh, they like the idea.
And by that time I was born, right? I was born in the late 50s, and so you had two daughters. And what I remember that the one thing that we always did, and it makes me think of your life on the sea, is that our annual vacation was always to Lake Michigan. And I wondered if that was a way for you to get back to the water, if you liked getting back to the water every year.
I would like to.
Yeah, because you taught me how to swim, and we made the water was a big part of my childhood, and I, like I said, I always wondered if that was because you enjoyed being on the water so much during your military career.
Yes.
And when you traveled to places that were islands, like the Honolulu, right? You and Mom traveled back to Hawaii, which you had seen during the war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And back to Germany. You went to Germany, right? You and Mom visited Germany later.
Oh, yes.
And that's where your parents are from, right? Your parents were German?
Oh, yes. Yeah. They came back. They came back. They came to our country.
Were they pretty young when they came to the United States?
I don't know.
You don't know? Yeah, I don't know what. That's one thing I don't remember hearing, how old they were when they came. Were they married before they came over?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, because Grandma was German. No, she was Austrian, wasn't she?
She was Austrian.
Okay. So your dad was German?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. You had your dad and then your stepdad. I know your stepdad was German, and he came from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And you lived in Chicago for quite a long time. You lived in Chicago until the early 90s, right?
Yes.
And then what made you decide to come to Cincinnati? Do you remember?
To meet you.
Yeah, that was nice. I had three boys by then, and I think you were missing them maybe more than me.
Yeah.
And so you and Mom came and made the move to Cincinnati, where you've been ever since.
Yes.
Do you like Cincinnati as much as Chicago, or did you like Chicago more?
I like Chicago.
Yeah. Well, you spent a
That-
long
that
time
was-
there.
That was a really wonderful place. But it is not now.
Not as nice now,
No.
but you enjoyed your time there.
Yeah.
You spent many years there. You were there over 60 years, right?
Yes.
What else can we? What else would be interesting to and helps us understand you better? You're a photographer, right? You like to take pictures.
Oh, yeah. I like to take pictures.
We have so many slides. You took pictures of us when we
Yes.
were little, and
I was a good picture taker.
you were.
Yes.
I think, yeah. I think you were.
Good thing that I was able to do that.
Yeah, that brought you a lot of enjoyment, didn't it? But you kept baking pies, right? You were the family pie baker.
Oh, man.
What's your favorite pie?
My favorite pie is all pie.
Oh. Doesn't matter what kind, huh? I remember you making a lot of blueberry pies and cherry pies, apple pies. You're right. You did make all the pies, didn't
Uh-huh.
you? And you would bake cakes. I remember you made pineapple upside down cakes.
Upside down cake.
Yeah. So you were a cook. You also were a good golfer.
Good golfer? No.
You don't think so? I remember you would get little trophies, but was that just kind of fun trophies that you would get? Yeah, oh, I didn't know that. When I was a kid, I thought you were a great golfer. Because you would bring home from the times that you would go out with your buddies.
Hey, look at the big I got. See, look at this. Look at this.
Managed to get it in the hole, huh? Well, I remember we had a little that we would putt around the backyard a little bit. You would have your putter out there, and you taught me how to golf a little bit. But we also had a swimming pool because again, you liked the water, so you kept a swimming pool in the backyard pretty much the whole time I was growing up.
That was a nice thing.
And then you even, when you retired, you worked at a swimming pool company for a little bit as a part-time employee.
Yes.
And you would tell everybody how they had to keep their pools real clean.
Oh, yes.
Because you kept ours sparkling clean. So you've always retained your love of the water, haven't you?
Oh.
The water and travel. You've told me that you really have liked to travel ever since you were...
I like to travel. That was one thing that I missed. My mom would quit, bang.
Let's not go.
Yeah.
But you were the one that liked to go all over ever since you were in the CCCs, ever since you went up to the North Woods, huh?
Yes.
So that started your love of travel, and that's always
yeah.
been something that...
Yeah.
So the military in that way was something that you really appreciated because of the ability to travel.
That's one thing that my mother didn't like at all. And that was me moving. Go move. Travel. I would like to travel.
Well, no mom likes her little boy far away from her, but but you appreciated that. That's how I feel now with my boys in Houston. I don't want them out there, but they like to travel too. They got that from their papa.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, all my boys want to be someplace else. They want to be in Europe
I want to be someplace, but not here. I'd like to travel, but I want to return home.
Well, yeah.
And, oh, mama.
Come back to mom for a little bit and then leave again.
And then away from home.
Well, I'm glad the military gave you that chance to do that.
Yes.
And I appreciate the way, as I grew up, you always told me about your trips, and it made me appreciate travel too. It made me want to get out, and it also made me realize the kinds of, the risks that you took when you were a young man, and your willingness to do something out of the ordinary. Not necessarily just do what your parents wanted or do what...
I would like to do what I want to do.
Well, that's really neat. And that was a good thing, the lesson that I learned from you and from hearing about your travels. I really appreciate that. Well, thanks for talking about the different things that you've done in the military and in your life as a whole. Is there something that you wanted to say that we haven't covered?
I like to travel.
Bottom line, right?
I would like to travel. I would like to return home. But as soon as I get home...
You want to go again?
Then I gotta go.
Well, you visited so many different countries. You visited Europe, you visited Asia, you visited Antarctica, you visited the Australian continent and New Zealand. You visited most of the United States.
Yes.
Have you ever been to Canada?
No.
One place you haven't been.
One thing that I haven't been there, and yet was on our border.
Right on the border, and you never got there.
Never got there.
So maybe that's your next trip. Now you need a passport to go to Canada. We'd have to renew your passport. They didn't have to have that restriction before, now they do.
Uh-huh.
Well, you are a very well-traveled man, and thanks for Your service, too.
Oh, yeah.
Helped the country and helped you, it sounds like.
Huh?
It helped the country, but it also seemed to be something that you learned a lot from and really appreciated.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you.